All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Rocky Top Insider postgame show. My name is Rick Butler, joined as always by Ryan Schumpert across the virtual room as we are covering Tennessee's basketball game tonight against Missouri. Number 5 Tennessee survives by a score of 72-67 in Columbia. This was not a pretty game by any stretch, especially in the first half, but Tennessee managed to find a way to get it done. Ryan, there was even a couple moments there in the first half. I know you were sort of pulling double duty with basketball and baseball. I found myself being pretty envious of you having to sort of divert some of your attention away to even something as mundane as a Tony Vitello transcript. I was fully locked in. It was hard to watch. I'm sure other people felt the similar way. Bad basketball from both teams in the first half. But again, Tennessee finds a way to get it done in Columbia, survives, and moves on to live another day.
Yeah, certainly. Very, very ugly performance, and especially ugly first half, and especially ugly start to the game. I mean, it's kind of when we were talking to Tony, Mike Wilson had iPad on the ground that had the game on, so I kind of was following, kind of not really watching it closely, but kind of sneaking some glances. It's like, okay, they still haven't scored. They still haven't scored. And I think I saw that they had scored, but then they showed the replay of it, and it was a pass into the backcourt that the Missouri guy fell down on, and Tennessee just gets a wide open dunk. So very, very ugly game. Not the best Tennessee's played by any means. A bad performance for sure, but certainly a bad performance that ends with a win is a whole lot better than a bad performance that ends with a loss.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, we can talk about the different ways that first half just really kind of fell through Tennessee's fingers. The offense was not working at all. I believe there was a large stretch, and they might have even made it to halftime shooting under 35% from the floor. Missouri did have a lead as it went into halftime, but then Tennessee came out in the second half. Now, the first couple minutes, they still, the ball still was slow moving down the court, if you will. But Tennessee did get a nice reset during halftime, and especially Dalton Knecht had a reset during halftime. He only had 2 points during the first half, but really exploded for, I don't know, what was it? He finished the game with 17 points, so he had 15 there in the second half. He was one of 2 Tennessee players to end the game with a double-double as well. He also pulls in 10 rebounds. He went crazy, and there's more guys to talk about as well. I want to talk about Tennessee's big men, but it's hard not to lead with him just because of how important and how necessary and how quick his scoring was in the second half to really kind of propel Tennessee. I believe Tennessee's lead ballooned up to about 13 at one point, shrunk back down, and Missouri hit a late three-pointer there as the clock expired. But he was big in getting Tennessee up to double digits there in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like he was terrible for 25 minutes. I mean, it's the worst we've seen Dalton Knecht play all year.
Right. Yeah.
Missed his first 8 shots. He was turning the ball over to high rate. It felt like he had butter on his hands. I mean, a couple of passes just go right through his hands and out of bounds. And then he hits, the way he was playing, he hits a shot that was kind of a no, yes one, contested mid-range jumper on the baseline. And it was like that was all he needed to see. He had a 3 the next possession. I think he maybe missed his next 2 shots, kind of driving to the basket. And then he made his final 4 shots of the game, and he makes 6 of his final 8 shots. And you're right. He wasn't the only guy that played well and sparked Tennessee in the second half, but when he does it, he can kind of do it at a whole nother level that no one else does for Tennessee. And Tennessee played. He could have maybe just been okay in the second half, and Tennessee pulled out the win. But they certainly don't build a lead up to 13 points, like you said, and they certainly don't win in what really ended up being drama-free fashion in the final few minutes. If it wasn't for Dalton Knecht, too, it's a sign of a great player who can be playing really, really poorly and then find a way to flip it on and be really, really good in the games. I think all 15 of those 17 points, all in the final 13 and a half minutes of the game was pretty incredible.
Yeah, and again, we kind of talk about Dalton Knecht being sort of representing of the good and the bad of the game for Tennessee on Tuesday night against Missouri. But I also feel like Tennessee's big men played a big role in kind of keeping Tennessee afloat. And don't get me wrong, not that there weren't moments where things were sort of sinking, but Tennessee needed a little bit of consistency when the shots weren't falling, especially from the outside. And Tobe Awaka and Jonas Aidoo sort of did just that. Tobe Awaka had a big game, 18 points and 10 rebounds on 6 of 8 shooting. Jonas Aidoo has 14 points and 4 rebounds on 6 of 9 shooting. So again, both of those guys, I thought, again, we talked about a second ago, Knecht sort of tearing it up at the very end and sort of ballooning that lead for Tennessee. But I thought that Tennessee's big men were the ones who were able to sort of keep it consistent the whole way through.
Yeah, I mean, those were the 2 other guys that played well for sure. And in the first half, I felt like those were the only guys who could score. And in the second half, they were still effective. And, I kind of put a pin in it when it happened, because even before, it kind of felt like this might be a time to do it, where Tennessee went to two big men. I think it was 15-15 left in the game, and they played that just about until the end. I think they went back to four guards for some press break stuff in the last 2 minutes of the game. But besides that, both those guys were basically on the court for the entirety of the second half, for the entirety of the comeback. They helped Tennessee rebound better in a game they weren't rebounding very well against a not very good rebounding team. And then Tobe Awaka, I mean, Adu was solid. He did some nice things. I mean, you mentioned it, but Tobe Awaka, I thought that was the best game he's had in his Tennessee career. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Just how unbelievably efficient he was scoring. He did a good job rebounding. He did a good job on the glass. Yeah, I'd probably say maybe I don't know, maybe not most important because obviously what connected in the second half was felt like the biggest spark, but I definitely felt like Tobe Hawaka, played better than any Tennessee player in this game.
Yeah, and especially in a week where Tennessee was emphasizing toughness a lot. We heard that through the press conferences. We saw that at practice. You wrote about certain drills that they've been doing to sort of emphasize that toughness and set the tone early in practice. I thought that Tobe Walker really played with that toughness when he needed to. Again, when things weren't going right, you could see players getting frustrated on the court. Tennessee had a ton of turnovers in this game just because they were trying to force things. They were trying to press things. Things just were not going, especially when they were trying to shoot the ball there early in the game. I felt like Tennessee's big men really, especially Tobe Awaka, what we're talking about, his toughness sort of just, again, sort of kept that ship afloat. He played really well in the paint, and then Tennessee certainly had some nice blocks there in the paint as well. Looking at a different perspective, though, you go to some of Tennessee's seniors, and Ryan, I feel like this is maybe a question I've asked you before, but you look at Santiago Vescovi and Josiah Jordan-James. I believe they combined for 1 of 9 shooting on the night, 0 of 7 from three-point range. Josiah Jordan-James did not play a ton in the second half as well. Rick Barnes kind of kept him on the bench, especially as Tennessee's lead started to climb there about halfway through. Just what do you sort of make of that game from them, and where do they go from here?
I mean, I don't really know on that aspect of what to make of the game. I mean, it's just more inconsistencies from both those guys. Both of them struggled combined for 5 points, and they need to be better. I mean, I think it's as simple as that, really. And I guess the positives, the fact that Tennessee is able to play a game where both those guys really did. I didn't really feel like either of them played much in the second half. At least when Tennessee was making a run, both those guys were on the bench, and Tennessee had other ways to find answers and other ways to get things done. So, I think that's what kind of stands out about it. That's the good thing. But no, when you're talking specifically about those guys, they were both bad, and Tennessee needs both of them to be better. 5 combined points. I think James hit 2 free throws there late in the game when he got fouled. So, a night to forget for both of them. And part of the reason why Tennessee was as dependent as they were on those big men offensively for, through the first 25 minutes of the game or so.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, one of the last guys that we kind of hadn't mentioned there's Zakai Ziegler. He goes for 10 points on 3 of 9 shooting, hits a pair of three-pointers during the game as well. Only about 3 assists on the game. I thought there were times where you could tell he might have been getting a little frustrated, times that you could tell where, he's pressing a little bit, had 2 turnovers on the night. I believe that number ends at, but ultimately he did find enough opportunities to get the ball in the basket for Tennessee, get them some needed points when they needed to. But that kind of talks about the box score right there. Again, Tennessee had 4 double-digit scores. We mentioned all 4 of them. Zakai Ziegler with 10, Dalton Knecht with 17, Jonas Adu with 14, and Tobe Awaka with a game-high 18 on the night. Again, it was the Dalton Knecht show there in the final 10, 13 minutes or so of the game as he really exploded for 15 points out of his 17 on the game. But then again, we talked about Tennessee's big men and Tobe Awaka and Jonas Adu being sort of that consistent thread throughout the game that at least kept Tennessee afloat as Missouri and them were trading punches. And boy, are they trading punches through a good bit of this game.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I wasn't super locked in. The most of the first half was kind of watching it while working some stuff with baseball. But yeah, it felt like Zakai was pretty bad in the first half and took some off balance shots, had some turnovers. And it wasn't like he was spectacular in the second half either, but he did feel like he played a lot better. He cut down on the turnovers. He hit some shots, and obviously he wasn't the guy Tennessee was turning to create a lot of the offense, but it did feel like he was a lot better. And one note I would just make as a whole in the offense, I mean, we talked about it a lot after the Vanderbilt game. It felt like, Tennessee's offense is at its best when they're moving the ball and they're getting a lot of different guys involved and, high assist numbers. Tonight was kind of the opposite of that, which it just kind of feeds into how they did struggle. Just 10 assists on 24 made baskets. It just felt like Tennessee was struggling with movement, struggling to get other or multiple guys involved, and that's kind of how their offense became pretty stagnant. but Knecht, Awaka, and a little bit of Adu too were able to make enough baskets to keep it from being an awful point total and a bad loss.
Again, number 5, Tennessee survives a game in Columbia, Missouri, 72-67 over the Missouri Tigers. Tennessee stays alive, and that would have been a huge loss, obviously, in the SEC regular season race for the crown. We have written about that over on RockyTopInsider.com if you want to go ahead and look that out. But Tennessee survives. Tennessee picks up the win in the midweek game. They will return home this weekend to take on a Texas A&M squad. Am I getting that right?
You are, and it's one that's in free fall. I don't think they've won a game since they beat Tennessee a few weeks ago in College Station. I haven't seen the final tonight, but they were down to Arkansas late, and obviously, as Tennessee saw last week, not a very good Arkansas team. So, as an A&M team that's struggling, and Tennessee will look to keep them struggling or continue that struggle. Yeah, Arkansas won 78-71 tonight.
Yeah, not only a game to bounce back and show a full 40-minute performance on Saturday, but you also get to Tennessee also gets to have a chance at revenge against a team that beat them fairly recently in the schedule. Ryan, that'll wrap it up for us today on a basketball perspective. But real quick, you and I were both at the ballpark for Tennessee baseball's home opening win over UNC Asheville. Just give me one quick baseball nugget that you found from the game today. As a little treat for those who made it to the end of the video. A little crossover.
Austin Hundley. Yeah, Austin Hundley. You might remember his older brother, Sean Hundley, was a great pitcher for Tennessee for a number of years under Tony Vitello. Austin's a redshirt freshman, made his career debut tonight and pitched the final 3 innings, didn't give up a run. And usually that might not matter a bunch in a midweek game, but Tennessee won by 3-2 today and took the lead in the 7th inning. So a really good debut from him, and impressive stuff. Sean Hundley was at the ballpark too and able to watch it before probably leaving here in the next few days to report and get ready for spring training.
There you go. Nearly 6 straight hours of coverage on the Rocky Top Insider Network today from the Tennessee baseball game and the Tennessee basketball game. It was almost perfect how nearly it lined up back to back. The final out was made just as tip-off was happening over in Columbia.
It did.
But yeah, so that was nice. But as always, you can head over to RockyTopInsider.com to go check out all of that work from us today. We got a lot of coverage again on baseball and basketball. Tennessee picks up a win in both sports as they move into the weekend here of play. That'll do it for us over here at Rocky Top Insider. Thank you so much for listening to the postgame show. For Ryan Shumpert, I'm Rick Butler. We'll catch you back for the next one.